Hello friends and welcome back. Today I'm making the most delicious cake in the world, honey cake. This cake is very popular in Eastern Europe and everyone falls in love with it at first bite. Honestly, I think my husband proposed after I make this cake for him. He insists it sealed the deal. And my American family says it reminds them of graham crackers with frosting. And I have to agree. Yes, I won't lie, it can be a little time consuming, but trust me, this cake is a true showstopper and it's worth every minute. Okay, no more talking and let's get started. First, take a saucepan and add 5 tablespoons of butter, 2 eggs, 132 grams of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon, 80 grams of honey and 50 grams of agave syrup. If you don't have agave syrup, don't worry. Stick with the classic approach and use 130 grams of honey instead. Add the zest of 1 lemon or orange. Place the pan over low heat and stir constantly to prevent the eggs from cooking. Let everything melt together and combine into a smooth, fragrant mixture. This will be the base of our delicious honey cake. Once the mixture in the saucepan is smooth, remove it from the heat and immediately add 1¼ teaspoon of baking soda. Stir well until the mixture becomes light and foamy. This reaction is key to giving the cake its soft texture. If you notice the mixture isn't reacting, place it back over low heat and stir continuously until it becomes light and foamy. Then remove it from the heat. Once the mixture is ready, pour it into a large bowl to make mixing easier. Gradually add 460 grams of flour in 3 parts. Stir well after each addition until all the flour is fully incorporated. Start by mixing with a spoon, then switch to the kneading by hand. The dough should be very sticky but come together in a soft ball. It will firm up as it rests in the fridge. If the mixture is still too liquid, add a little more flour, 1 tablespoon at a time, until it reaches the right consistency. Next, take a piece of plastic wrap and place your dough in the center. Wrap it tightly to keep it from drying out. Then place it in the fridge to chill. Let the dough rest for 1 hour. This will help it firm up and make it easier to roll out later. After the dough has rested, remove it from the fridge and unwrap it. Cut the dough into 10 equal pieces. Take 1 piece to work with and place the remaining pieces back in the fridge to keep them cold. Roll the piece into a ball to make it easier to roll out. Then lightly coat it with flour to prevent sticking. Take the ball of dough and place it on a well-floured surface. Press it gently with your hands to flatten it. Then use a rolling pin to roll it out into a thin circle. Make the circle slightly larger than your planned cake size, as we will trim it after baking and it's tend to shrink a bit. For an 8-inch cake, I usually roll the dough out to about 9 inches. Rotate the dough as you roll to keep its shape and prevent sticking. Add a little more flour if needed to keep everything smooth and manageable. Once your dough is rolled out, carefully transfer it onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. I like to use a scraper to help with the transfer to prevent the dough from tearing. Place the baking sheet into a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake until golden. It usually takes 4 or 5 minutes, but keep a close eye on it because all ovens work differently, and thin dough like this can burn very easily. Once the dough is baked and golden, carefully remove it from the oven, and while it's still hot, use a cake ring or a plate as a guide to cut the layer into a perfect circle. transfer the trimmed layer to a wire rack to cool completely, and don't forget to save the trimmings. We will use them later for decoration. If you're concerned that your layers might be a bit thick, gently poke them with a fork after baking. This will help the frosting soak into the layer more easily. Repeat the process with the remaining dough pieces, baking and trimming each layer as you go, until all your layers are baked and you are ready to assemble the cake. Just look at how beautifully golden and fragrant they are. Thin yet sturdy, they are perfect for stacking and soaking up all that amazing frosting. For the frosting, pour 300 grams of heavy cream into a large bowl. Add a teaspoon of vanilla extract and 80 grams of powdered sugar. Using a hand mixer or stand mixer, whip the cream until it's light, fluffy and creamy. Then add 400 grams of sour cream and mix until everything is smooth and well combined. Once the frosting is ready, cover the bowl with plastic wrap and let it rest in the fridge for 30 minutes. Now it's time to assemble the cake. Start by taking your serving plate or cake stand and spreading a bit of frosting on it to keep the layers from sliding. Next, place your first layer on top and spread a generous amount of frosting evenly over it, about 2 big tablespoons, making sure to cover the entire surface. Add the next layer and repeat the process, stacking and frosting each layer as you go. As your cake gets taller, don't forget to even out the sides and spread a bit of frosting there as well, to keep everything smooth and neat. Once your cake is fully frosted, smooth it out to make it as even as possible. I like to use an icing spatula for this. It really helps to create a clean, smooth finish and makes the process much easier. After that, cover the cake with plastic wrap. If you have a cake ring, place it around the cake and gently press it to keep the layers perfectly straight. Let the cake rest in the fridge overnight or for at least 4 hours to allow the flavors to melt and the frosting to soak into the layers. Now let's prepare our crumbs. Take the trimmings from the cake layers and crush them into fine crumbs. You can use a food processor for this, or if you don't have one, place the trimmings in the zip bag and crush them with a rolling pin. After the cake has chilled, it's time to decorate. Remove your cake from the fridge and take off the plastic wrap. You will notice the frosting is now beautifully set. Start covering the sides of the cake with the prepared crumbs. You can use a scraper to press the crumbs gently onto the sides, or just use your hands. It's easier to control and helps you to get a nice even coating. Once the sides are done, use a sieve to evenly sprinkle the crumbs over the top of the cake for a polished finish. Then take a paper towel and carefully clean around the dish to make it look neat and presentable. Now it's time to get creative. Feel free to add fresh fruits, nuts, or any other decorations to make your cake extra special. Or, if you prefer, you can keep it classic and simple without any extra decoration. It's just as beautiful either way. And now it's time to serve and enjoy. This honey cake is soft, creamy, and absolutely incredible. Perfect for any occasion or just because you deserve a treat. Thank you so much for baking with me today, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.